Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Just Another G.I. Joe Show, episode number 64. I am joined tonight by my good friendish, uh, J.E. Russell. With
Are these shows ever going to end? 64, 65, Jiminy.
Yeah, I think we're getting to the end of our run almost. I think we're fixing.
Nah.
We're going to have to switch it
Just
up.
rebrand it and go forward.
Man, I've tried to rebrand and do so many things. It's so funny how no one watches anymore.
Well, they're all stuck on YouTube watching other videos.
No, they're watching more experienced YouTubers is what it is.
No, I think everything's fine, Mike. I don't care what you say.
It'll be all right. But anyways, we're here to talk about you. I know you're on a time restraint tonight, and we are going to talk about your the Lost Five, the final five that were not in, that did not get unlocked in your Kickstarter. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. What we've got up for pre-order right now on the website, which is chickenfriedtoys.com. If you go, it takes you directly to the cart. Is the 5 figures that we had in the Kickstarter as extended goals that did not get unlocked. What we've got is we went ahead and tooled everything up, all the parts for everybody, even though we weren't actually going to be able to produce them all, given finances. And we have all the tooling done, finished. It's complete, perfect, nice. All we got to do is do the print runs and get them here, and everybody gets some new figures. So there's even a package deal. If you want, you can go in and get all 5 of the figures for about a $15 total discount. And we're shooting for some goals to reach our timeline that we've talked to everybody about so far. We'd like to hit 500 of each character by the end of November. And then as soon as we do get that 500 number, that magic number, even if it's ahead of time, we'll place the order and get these things on the way. The factory assures us that we should be able to hit the timeline of delivery sometime in early mid-June at the very latest. So barring any catastrophic circumstances, we should be in good shape. I see you've already got the first picture up there.
Yeah, we got them up here. So we'll talk about each of them. I think we've talked about them before, but let's go over them again and let people know.
Yeah, sure. Refresh everybody's memory. Absolutely.
Right, where we're standing at on these characters and stuff. And now you did mention that basically the sculpt's already all there, correct?
Oh yeah, the tooling is completely finished. All the bugs are worked out. Everything fits, works, articulates properly. Actually, if you've seen any of the photographs that I've taken, you'll see some test shots that are kind of a black and a cream-colored yellow white on the table. That's actually test shots of these figures. So they are ready to go. It's just a matter of pulling the trigger on the production and making sure the colors all match up and stuff like that. And the nice thing about this in particular, where we're going to be able to save a little bit of time, is any of the paint decos for any of the parts, striped pants, all that, it's already done. We did that in the first wave because these are going to be sharing the same kind of paint patterns, different colors, obviously, different combinations of parts. But there's actually only 2 parts in here that don't have paint tampos already worked out, 2 of the heads, and that's going to go pretty quick because we got a rocket scientist over there doing work for us, and he's sharp as a tack.
Before we get into the figures, a couple quick questions. Good evening, Chris. Good evening, 46 Zone. 46 Zone wants to know, how many orders do you need to get to 500? I mean, are we close? We're halfway there, 3/4 of the way.
We're close to halfway there. We're a little over 200. I haven't actually looked in the last 6 or 8 hours, but we were up I think 207 right now. So we're getting close to halfway, which is good. This time of year, there's a lot of stuff going on. This time of year, everybody's got to balance their budgets versus what their needs are going to be through the holidays and stuff. And it's not the most ideal time to go with this, but to hit the delivery timelines that everybody wants to see us get, we've got to do it now or, put it off. Like I said, I think we were at 207 first thing this morning of each character, and we need to hit 500. So, I mean, that's encouraging. It's about 3.5 weeks to get there, so we should be able to pull that on the rest of them. There were people that were waiting that knew that I was going to do a couple of accessory packs. So those guys are all getting ready to order. People that were waiting on payday, the beginning of the month, and that kind of thing too. So I expect to see some action over the next week, and as we get closer to Thanksgiving and the end of the month, that should it should be able to get us there. And I will keep informing everybody if you follow our Facebook page at Chicken Fried Toys space space Dime Novel Legends. I will keep everybody in the loop as to what the numbers are, where we're at, and how things are progressing. So,
Okay, get that question out of the way since I saw it.
sure, yeah, that's good. We got it's good, solid questions, man, and I'm happy to answer them.
First figure we got here, the head honcho.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about the head honcho.
Well, as some of you may remember, as I've talked about some of these before, we took the opportunity to homage some toys from our youth. In this particular case, the head honcho and his partner, the gunfighter, are homages. They're not copies of, but they're inspired by the vintage Butch and Sundance figures, which were based on a television show of the same name. If I recall correctly, it was Tom Berenger and William Catt playing the actors at that time, or playing the two roles at that time. The head honcho here is kind of a dandy, obviously, white cuffs and collar. He's based on the Butch Cassidy character in terms of the palette and basic design elements. The sculpts are all ours; they're all unique. The head sculpt is my business partner, Paul, with a different haircut and some 5 o'clock shadows. So he's been on the trail for a few days, obviously, but you can see it's a pretty basic layout. One of the things that's unique about it is he's got a left-hand cross draw. So this is a lefty, not a righty in terms of design elements. Yeah. So it's not too flashy, but it's also a pretty good looking figure. And a lot of people dig the homage. They get it. So that's good.
I actually dig that cowboy hat. I don't know why I like those kind of that hat particularly. It's always been kind of a strange looking hat to me. But,
well, what a lot of people don't know about the Old West is the bowler and the derby were the two most popular hats with cowboys and everybody else walking around. They're also two of the most common. Stetsons and stuff, traditional TV style or actual Western cowboy hats didn't really gain prominence until the late 1800s, and they got a little more common with the advent of the Stetson. There was a model called the Boss of the Plains that was extremely popular. If you've ever seen the movie Tombstone,
yes,
all of the Earps wear the Boss of the Plains. Different colors, mind you, but that's right. What that style. It's kind of a flat brim with about 5 or 6 inch brim, a low crown, flat top. So it's a very our Marshall has that style of hat. So
right.
So it became much more common then. Obviously, men who served in the cavalry, they might have had Stetsons that were a little different. And of course, as they, mustered out and things like that, they kept them and more personalized the style of the dents and the pinches and the rolls and things like that. Hats are one of those things that are very personal, especially cowboy hats. You wear it how you want it. You mold the hat to how you are, how you want to wear it. So, and that like I said, the derbies and the bowlers were very popular with people because they were pretty low maintenance and they stay on your head well when you're riding a horse.
Gotcha. All right.
So
move on over to the next one. We got the gunfighter. This one I actually like. He's got that.
The gunfighter. Go ahead.
No, he's got that look like he's getting ready to draw at high noon.
Well, this is the other figure I was just talking about. That is an homage to the classic Butch and Sundance action figure line from Kenner back in 79 and 80. The color palettes are, more or less from the figures. There are a little bit of touch up here and there, but obviously the design, the way the color breaks work and all that kind of thing are based on those figures. A quick note about the gunfighter here, who is an homage to the Sundance Kid. The figure is shown with a closed vest. He will be coming with an open vest. The same vest that was on our Cowpuncher figure in Wave 1 will be on this figure here, just so that he and Butch, or he and the head honcho, will have two different vests. There won't be two of the same part. I had somebody remark to me the other day that, you can get him. He's already the pre-existing in, I think it's Buckaroo number 4, Buckaroo number 5. And what I pointed out to that person then was this figure doesn't have any suspenders on the torso, so the vest will fit down. It also doesn't have any chaps on the legs like that Buckaroo figure does. So this is different. It also has a head, which you've seen previously, but with a new paint pattern. It's a sandy blonde. It also has 5 o'clock shadow. And if you look on his head, he has got the Boss of the Plains head I was just talking about. So he is also the first figure in our entire lineup to come with a left and right drop down holster, traditional, what people think of as cowboy holsters or Western holsters. So
That's pretty cool. Okay.
and each one is a little unique. So
Gotcha.
this is the Sheriff. He has been popular with almost everybody. They like the way that he looks kind of like a little bit of a dandy. It's based a little bit off of traditional pictures of Bat Masterson, as well as the character Johnny Behan as portrayed in the movie Tombstone in terms of his overall appearance and stuff. Obviously, it's not the same color palettes. The outfit is actually not even close to the same, but it has that same kind of a look of a town law enforcement official. He has the striped pants that we worked out on the Territories Lawman and the Ranch Hands, so you're going to get some really good visual pop there. He's got a gray shirt as opposed to white or black or blue with the collar, of course, the short coat. And he is the first character to come with a walking stick. So that is really cool. I'm glad to see that finally getting out here.
Looks kind of like a pimp stick.
Well, Bat Masterson, historically, he took a shot in the leg and walked with a cane for about the rest of his life.
I know. I was just trying to be funny.
Oh, no, that's fine. It's what you're talking about is a swagger stick.
Swagger stick.
Swagger. Yeah.
Now the tampograph up here, that's a tampograph Marshall's badge, correct?
No, actually, it's a separate part. Actually, I got a little bit of flack from that as we were delivering the stuff earlier this year. A couple of people took umbrage with the fact that the badges weren't glued on from the factory. And the reason we did that is to make that operation work correctly at the factory, we would have to add a key there. And a key means a male and female pin. Either a pin coming out of the vest or coming out of the coat that goes into the badge, or vice versa, more commonly. And what that means is then you would be committed to using that badge on that vest or jacket, whether you wanted to or not. So rather than make that decision for you, we left them loose, had them assembled and painted, and you can glue it in place if you want. It's a very simple thing. One micro dot of super glue, hold it on, make sure it's turned the right way, and you're done. So
that'd be an issue.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, even as bad as my thumbs are at fumbling stuff, even I can put those on there. So I really don't see what the person's issue was, but he was unhappy about it and certainly let everybody know. So
now the Marshall badge here and the one that you did but for in the regular Kickstarter, is it the exact same thing or is it different?
This is the same badge. No, actually, this is the first time this badge has been used. This is a Federal Shield.
Okay.
The one that's on the Marshall is also the same one that's on the Badlands Vigilante, and then the Territories Lawman has a regular 5-pointed star with no filigree around it or anything. And there'll be a fourth badge coming up on a figure we'll talk about here in a few minutes. So.
Okay, cool. Let's go on the next one here.
I figured you would like this guy. Does this guy strike your fancy?
Strikes my fancy a little bit. Him and his gold nuggets in his pan.
Yeah, that was one of those accessories that I wasn't necessarily hesitant to do, but I was having a hard time trying to find multiple uses for it that weren't just a pan with some stuff in it. What we have here with the Prospector, and a lot of people are saying, oh, it's what's his name from Toy Story. It's not what's his name from Toy Story. This is an homage to the classic 8-inch Gabriel Lone Ranger line. You could buy disguises for your Lone Ranger to wear, and this was from a set called The Mysterious Prospector, where the Lone Ranger would put himself in disguise and then go find clues to solve his mystery or crime. So that's what you're looking at here. Cavalry boots, suspender torso. This is the first time that you guys will have seen this hat on a figure at this point. Pickaxe, shotgun. The plate is galvanized steel with metallic gold nuggets in it, so that's going to pop off real nice. One of the alternate uses for that was in one of our accessory packs, where it was again a steel plate with some silver nuggets. And a good friend of mine made a great suggestion the other day that we could use this same plate as some kind of china by making it white and have little scraps of food on it, some beans or a piece of meat or a little bit of mashed potato or something like that with a proper paint job on it. So it's going to get used a couple of more times yet in that kind of a scenario. So always looking for a way to reuse the tooling over and over and over again so that we maximize the amount of money we make off of it before we have to move on to the next thing. And
Absolutely.
we don't want anybody who is a fan of this line and is buying the stuff to feel like we're just, shoving repaints down your throat. Everything needs to be unique and interesting to look at and have its own specific purpose. So even though our first line had 2 torsos, 2.5 sets of arms, and 2.5 sets of legs, we mixed and matched stuff enough so that you don't feel like look, that's just like this, that's just like that. We don't want that. As customers of other places in the past, other action figure lines, as collectors, that's the kind of thing that drives me nuts. When I was a late teen and buying G.I. Joe at retail was around the time I quit, Sergeant Slaughter's Marauders came out. And I was like, I don't need those guys. They're in stupid paint colors and they're already got them, so that they don't want to repeat of that to anybody. So we're bearing that in mind.
Let me go back here to the questions real quick.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
46 Zone, I think he was talking about the gunman. Any tips on, or maybe just in general, any tips on getting the vest to stay closed?
There's a couple of things that you can do. The soft goods, or what, they're not soft goods, the secondaries, which is anything that goes on a body, not in a hand. The secondaries were supposed to be a little bit firmer plastic. And by the time we got stuff in and I realized that they weren't quite as firm as they should be, it was too late to make any changes. They'd already manufactured everything and it was in paint. So as we go forward, I'm going to have the durometer of the plastic, that's how firm it is, raised a little bit. So they should stay in a little bit better. As an alternate until that point, you can get a dental pick or a toothpick. You can take the vest, put it on, maybe warm it up a little bit under some water or something if you like, and then kind of poke the tabs in place. I would suggest once you have a figure in the configuration that you'd like, that you do the same thing you do with the Marauder Task Force figures and just put a little dop of super glue on there and call it good. That's what I did with all mine. I have them fixed how I want them. Until you get to that point, though, I wouldn't glue them. But you can do that once you have the tabs in place by using your toothpick and what have you. You can put a rubber band or a piece of tape around it, put it in the freezer for a few minutes, and that will kind of set the plastic so it stays better. It was a problem that developed late that wasn't able to be addressed, but we will try to do something about it going forward. So I hope you guys can forgive us for that, but there wasn't a lot we could do about it at the time once we discovered it an issue. And considering how many other hurdles we jumped that were bigger problems, that one was relatively minor. And the same tips apply to the gun belts. Once you get it put together and you get the gear on it that you want, glue it. That's probably the best way because the figures come apart at the torso and the waist, and you can just set the gun belts in place and put them back together. So they're designed to be taken apart. So don't be afraid to do that.
All right. I can't forget. I'm horrible with names. How do you pronounce that name?
Vaquero.
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 And is he
the
Mexican cowboy?
Yeah. He is a. Let me see if I got the terminology right.
Okay.
I believe it's Latino. If you're Spanish speaking, I can't remember because there's lots of different cultures that speak Spanish, but there's 2 different ways to refer to it. But anyway, I believe it's Latino. This is actually our good friend Rogelio Casas, who you may know from the G.I. Joe community as Columinati. He's got a long history in the community and is known for making 1/18 scale soft goods clothing for figures. So he was kind enough to loan us his ugly mug, and we threw it on this figure. It also is the head for the Prospector with all new hair and a beard and everything else. So he got used twice. A note on the Vaquero here. The bracers that are shown there to the side are actually on the figure. They're shown with having a playing card on there that we're probably not going to do right now.
Oh, really? I was just going to point that out. I like that.
Well, we're gonna try to find a way around that. What happens with the sculpt is those lines are so fine and so small that they just don't read well. Even if you put a paint wash there, they're still hard to see. So what? No. I got you, fam.
Okay, you got me. Okay.
All right. What I think we're gonna do is have our Tampo expert Katrina from Boss Fight work up a Tampo that is a brown outline, a dark brown outline of the same playing card pattern, and have that applied to them at the factory on our regular flat ones that you've already seen on some of the other figures. So that will give you the same look, but without using the part that's shown there. So we don't want to short anything, and I think that's a really cool feature. He's also the first character that you see to come with a straw hat. So I think that's pretty cool in itself, because the straw hat would have a bound edge like that one, so it makes a nice paint, a nice little paint pop on there. Also has ponchos.
I was going to point out real quick. I know the hat I thought was really big, but I love how he has his guns the way they are.
Yeah. Cross draws. Yeah. The hat is a little big, but it's very much a Southwest Texas cowboy. There's a lot of sun and not a lot of places to take shelter down there, so the hats are big.
Right.
I had a lot of people asking for sombreros and stuff like that, and we're going to get to those larger hats, but I wanted something that was a bit more traditional for cowboys of that area. And this wide brim straw hat would be perfect for somebody working out on it. If you notice, the crown of it's got an off center pinch, where he takes it off at.
Right.
And it's the only hat that we've got that has that right now. And as well as that, it's got a very low crown. It doesn't sit up very high on the head. It's like a baseball cap kind of. So that in the West Texas winds, where there's not a lot of stuff to block it, no scrub, not a lot of mountains, it doesn't catch your hat and blow it off near as easy. So are you at the microwave? Are you cooking?
No,
are you cooking during this?
No, my wife is.
Are you making popcorn?
Oh, we already did this one. No.
Why are you not sharing? Well, that's those 5, and again, the picture there you showed of all 5. All of those 5 are in a bundle together with a little discount if you guys want to get those from the store. So
right,
head on over.
Yeah, individually, what are they, like $29?
They're $28 a piece. Yeah,
28, and then if you get all 5, you save around $15 total.
Yeah, you save $3 per figure, so you get them down to 25. One of the things that, and I've not discussed it publicly before because I know it could be misconstrued, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyway. One of the things that I'm very proud of in terms of pricing the line is, we started this project 7 years ago, and then 5 years ago, all the serious work, and then 3 years ago for the design and preparation for the Kickstarter and stuff. So I had to guess where pricing was going to be when we delivered these this year during the summer. Now, we hope to deliver faster than that and didn't, but hey, we got them here. So the thing that makes me feel justified by that, if you want to call it that, is that I guess pricing would be, $25, $28, under $30 per figure. And if you look with other boutique brands, that's right about where they're at. So, we have only 2,000 of each piece. Most of the other boutique brands are running 3,000 or more. So we have less to make money on. We have less to sell overall. So, our price has to be just a couple of dollars higher to offset that so that we can still maintain profitability and have money to put in this project to go forward and make new figures. So I feel pretty good about that. I think that, especially with the news that came out this last week, that Hasbro is going to be raising their prices across the board on action figures and near the same mark for a mass manufactured item. I think that we're right on the money with that. So I hope everybody can agree. Looking at the big picture, this doesn't seem to be a crazy price. Now, to all the shows I've done this last year, the casual buyer just looks at it and goes, "Why isn't this $10 like I see in the store?" Well, that's because there's not 100,000 of them. So,
Yeah, and it's funny you should bring that up. That just tells me, they just recently went up on Transformer toys. So that means Transformers are probably going to go up some more, which is crazy. So.
Well, one of the things that I took away from the story specifically was the Star Wars Black Series and Marvel Legends figures are going to go up $4 or $5 a piece, basically. Now, in manufacturing, and I've talked about this before, and folks may or may not have paid attention. I do have a tendency to ramble, but in manufacturing, well, I learned it from you, so there you go. One of the things in manufacturing that you learn pretty quickly, and this is something that Hasbro took away very quickly, is that their focus shifted all of a sudden from 4-inch to 6-inch. You know, you looked at G.I. Joe, you looked at Star Wars, you looked at Marvel Universe, or actually at the time, Marvel Universe. Their focus seemed to be on the 4-inch stuff, and the Marvel Legends 6-inch stuff was an also ran. It was important, and people bought it, and they liked it, and it was doing well. But once it was established, and they figured out, hey, it only costs us X amount of dollars more to make this big figure, and we can sell it for twice as much at retail. Screw these little guys. So that's basically what's happened. And going forward in the marketplace, most of the stuff that's in this scale is going to be boutique brands. You're not going to see Mattel and Hasbro or anything like that stepping out and doing much of this. Frankly, I was surprised that the Mattel Jurassic Park stuff last year was 3.75. I'm happily surprised, but surprised. So Speaking of, I got the Brachiosaur yesterday and just got it put together today. You need that. Even if you don't know you need that giant dinosaur.
You do, yeah.
Oh, dude, it's cool. So anyway, let's move on to the next guy.
Now, you had decided you're going to have a couple of, I guess, show exclusives out there in the wild that you do, and this is one of them, correct?
Yep, it is. This is actually the second figure we showed, but we'll talk about him first since he's up there. This is our cavalry officer. The cavalry officer it's a bit of an homage. It's not a copy of, but it's a bit of an homage to an old G.I. Joe toy from when we were kids. In doing this homage, obviously that's going to appeal for people who are G.I. Joe collectors, not necessarily cowboy collectors, because of the scale and things like that. And that's great because that allows us to do more, and we'll be able to take that money and do more with it after the fact. So that's great. But the focus of this figure is the cavalry officer. This outfit, uniform, if you want to call it that, is not 100% historically correct because of the compromise and the fact that the parts that are on it are being used for other stuff. So there are some middle ground pieces there, but it is what it is. Yes, he has sunglasses, but if you don't like the sunglasses or you don't like the fact that they're on there and they're modern looking, you can easily swap it out for the other head that it comes with. So there you go.
So we'll come 85.
Yeah, it will come with both of those heads that are shown there. 85% of the parts on this guy are brand new. They might look the same, but they are not. So very pleased with the way he turned out. Our sculptor did a fantastic job on the new pieces. Our colorist, Arlen Pelletier, also did an excellent job on the presentation art that you see here. And it's a very accurate representation of what the figure is going to look like. So the overall idea here is to give us another cavalry guy as a troop builder for those people who have to have troop builders made for them rather than making their own troop builders. So that's what you got here. Oh, and I should comment before I forget regarding these show exclusives. These pieces are intended to get people to come out and see us at shows. If you live 60 miles, 100 miles away from a place we're going to be, and we're going to be traveling a lot next year, we want you to come see us. So this is just a little extra bonus for coming to see us in person, seeing the rest of the line. You get a figure that you can take home that you can only get at the show. If, and this is a big if there are any left at the end of the year, they'll go up in our cart and you'll be able to buy them there. But through 2020 until the end of the show season, you'll only be able to buy them at the show from us or whatever other prescribed method that we have. So
now, as far as the shows, is this going to be like all the shows you go to, or are these going to be specific shows?
No, this will be all the shows that we go. Both of the figures will be all the shows that we go to. The Texas Ranger is going to roll out as an exclusive for the DFW G.I. Joe and action figure show that I've been involved with for about 8 or 9 years here. As an exclusive, this will be the first time we've done a 3 3/4 exclusive officially for the show, and it will be bundled with a small convention package. We have yet to set the price point, but I think it's going to be about $65. It'll be the figure, a t-shirt in your size, and a 2-day pass to the show. Now, I realize people are like, well, I don't need a ticket. Well, we're making these available at the show. If you want to get it early, you want to get it now, you want to get it when we do the show and we start mailing these things out, you have to buy the package. It's not an exorbitant amount of money.
No, it's not. I mean, even if you're there locally, I mean, you get a t-shirt. I mean, you got to figure, let's say an exclusive figure is $30, and a shirt, for especially a big boy,
Another
you're
20
running
bucks.
about
Yeah.
$20 to $25. So I mean,
Yeah.
hell,
And you get 2-day pass to the show. So if you're in the area and you want to come, you get 2 days and you get to come in and do the show.
Will both of these
But we're-
be at the Dallas show? Will you have both these?
Well,
all done?
we're hoping so. The Texas Ranger will almost assuredly be, unless again there's an act of God that stops everything. The cavalry officer, because so much of him is new parts, we're shooting for that. We're shooting to manufacture exactly the same time, but I can't guarantee that there won't be tooling issues. There shouldn't be. We've got our guy on the ground from the beginning this time around. He's sharp as a cookie, or he's sharp as a razor, and is going to make sure that we don't have any problems. So I anticipate everything is here. He also anticipates everything's going to be here. So we should all be in good shape. The Cav Trooper, we have yet to decide what the price is going to be and how availability is going to work on that. Probably in December, we're going to go ahead and start pre-sales for the Texas Ranger. He will actually already be moving toward manufacturing by that time. And you'll be able to go in. We'll fix it up so you can pick your size of t-shirt. We'll have designs made for the show, as well as the Chicken Fried Toys logo on the sleeve. And then the 2-day pass. And what we'll do is you'll be allowed to pick as many. You want 10 copies. Your buddies want to get together and get 10 copies and split them up. You can. You'll be able to order it. They will ship out right after the show. And the idea is that if you live in Seattle and there's no way you're going to make it to Texas to do the show, you get the chance to still get the stuff. Not too different from what the Joe Club did. And I think it's one of the things the Joe Club did that was on the money. They gave everybody a chance. You had to jump on it. You had to take advantage, but you got a chance. So,
gotcha. All right, let's switch over here. This is the Texas Ranger you were talking about. This here will be the first time it'll be released. Will be at that Dallas show.
Yeah, it'll be at the Dallas show. Like I said, I've been involved with these guys in the local G.I. Joe Collectors Club for quite some time. And they're all people I know pretty well personally, and I like them all. And I really think that taking the opportunity to do a nice exclusive is something that will only benefit the show. They're doing a 12-inch uniform version along with a long box that will look very similar, if not exactly the same, to this character, who is also a Texas Ranger. So there's going to be kind of both things to go together. The Texas Ranger, his packaging will have a special show exclusive sticker on it to denote that that's where it came from. If you want to keep it carded, that kind of thing. The Ranger has a brand new badge and a brand new gun belt that has cartridges in the front and the back. So there's 2 new parts on him as well. Everything else that goes into his build is pre-existing. If you want to look around, you can actually source where all the parts came from. The look is based on a Texas Ranger in the late 1800s, 1870 forward. Like 1875 forward, actually, of what he might have looked like at the time. Colt Peacemaker, obviously a knife, which was a common tool that men carried, and then the lever action Winchester style rifle. So,
question, and this is I'm looking at it from my perspective because I'll probably come to the show when it happens to get it. But so let's take for example, like, will your Cardi one have a sticker on it for the show?
Yeah. If you look on the bottom right hand corner, we'll have a version of the Dallas logo there for the show. It'll have a date and stuff on it that will be on the bubble on the figure. So I'm going to have stickers made. They'll be applied when we get the stuff in, and you'll be handed that with your convention package along with your T-shirt and your passes. And like I said, I hope everybody takes it well that we're allowing you, however many you want to buy, you can buy.
That's what I was just fixing to ask. So. Yeah. Let's say I spend the $65 for the 2-day pass, the T-shirt, and the figure, but I want an additional figure to open up. So is that another $65, or is that like a $30 figure I could get once I get to the show?
That's something that we haven't discussed yet. Okay. We'll go over that scenario and kind of decide what a nice middle ground it is. As a customer, I don't expect you to come to a show and have to buy extra day passes that you don't need, frankly. So we'll find a middle ground there, so that if you come to the show, you want to buy extras, it may cost you a couple of dollars more than it would at retail normally, or from a retail price from us normally. But you will probably work it out so you can get an extra. So that's a tentative yes to your question.
Right, and that should be something that all collectors should not, my opinion, shouldn't bitch about, because I mean, we're talking, it's an exclusive figure. and you want to get an extra figure, I could totally see it being, like
couple dollars more. Yeah.
$30 to $35 figure, whatever the case may be, because it's an exclusive. I mean, strictly for that show. And if people are lucky enough, they can get that on afterwards, if possible.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I've got no problem with people buying additional to hand out to buddies and stuff like that, if that's what it comes down to. And I don't anticipate that being a big problem, obviously. But it depends. Our needs have to be for the show first. So as long as we can meet those needs for show attendees, then we'll figure something out for sure. And we'll have a policy in place way ahead of time, and we'll announce it so that everybody can discuss it and figure out what they need to do in terms of what's best fit for them. If you're not attending the show, it's only in the package. It's only in the convention package. So we need to have a reason to have people come in and come to this show, because it's an up and comer. I mean, this is their 9th year. That's a long time to hold a show, and every year there's been growth. And I want to do what I can as a club member and as a local vendor to drive people to come into the show and pick up some cool stuff and see other vendors. And the show is pretty good sized. I mean, it was a really a big show this last time around. It filled out the entire convention center, every room. And the offerings at this show are not what you would see maybe at a normal Dallas show, where there's a big t-shirt vendor, there's lots of pops, and look, here's a guy selling cosplay swords, and then here's a guy selling ninja knives from India, that kind of thing. It's a lot of focus on action figures and comic books and collector items. And this show is different from most of the other shows in that regard. So
yeah, I was gonna say I can actually vouch on that, because I came a couple of years ago, and you all had the one of the G.I. Joe cosplay groups there. They had a diorama built up. A lot of the vendors had just about everyone had just about action figures. I don't think I saw any pops whatsoever. I don't think I saw any swords.
Oh, there certainly was a few. There certainly was a few pops, but it was mainly action figures and collectible toys. Which as a customer, just strictly as a customer, that's what I want when I go to a show. I don't go there for the cosplay experience or anything else. Cosplay is important as a show organizer. It's great for getting families to come in and spend money and take pictures, and cosplayers love it because they get to show off their hard work, and that's great. But as a vendor, it's not so great for us, because cosplayers don't spend money on the things that I sell. They spend money on costumes, and I'm not telling them how they should or shouldn't do anything, but I have to look at the nuts and bolts of the money of it for me personally. And, I don't mind the cosplay element, obviously, especially if it's G.I. Joe. I mean, I love G.I. Joe, and it's great to see those guys out there doing that stuff. One of the things that's great about that cosplay group you mentioned was 2 years ago, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that was the year Larry Hama was here, and he had a kick all weekend posing with those guys in their diorama with their mini vehicle and stuff. And then this last year they had a Fang helicopter. I mean, how cool was that?
Matter of fact, I know I got the card set I got from them while I was there. I mean, it was I got a good time. So it's a good
show. It's a good show. It's a good regional show. It doesn't cost a lot. You're not going to pay $50 for a ticket to get in and then be crushed by the amount of people walking through buying stuff that you don't have any interest in. So a
quick question before we talk about the accessories here. And you can actually answer this because you've been to both of them. The Dallas show we're talking about versus Joe Lana, is it bigger? I'm sure it's smaller than Joe Lana, right?
No, the little Dallas show, the one I'm talking about here, the DFW G.I. Joe show.
Yeah.
It's probably just smaller than Joe Lanta, especially this last time out. Like I said, it filled up the entire convention center. And if you have not had the opportunity to travel into town, take a long weekend and come into town and see the show here, it's at the Grapevine Convention Center, which is literally 5 minutes away from the airport. There are hotels and restaurant row all around. And they're not expensive. It's not like a high-end Hyatt or, Hyatt Regency or, Marriott Crown or any of that kind of stuff. So you can come in on a budget and still have a lot of money to spend at the show. We're not going to, the show organizers are not going to try to pick your pocket with a bunch of autographs that are going to cost you a bunch of money, plus a $50 price to get in. That's great for the big shows that can support it. But, we're not to that size yet, so we don't need that. We want to focus on the things that collectors want. So, you want pops, there's going to be pop vendors there. That ain't what I go to a show for.
Yeah, you got that right. Okay, so let's talk
You're
about
filthy
these.
pop. No, you're a filthy pop lover. I know you've been down
Mm,
here for pop shows.
you hush. Don't be giving away my trade secrets, man. So let's see what we got here. We got these accessories I noticed the other day. Some
Yeah,
hats.
those just went up 2 days ago, both of those accessory sets. What I did was I culled through all of the comments that have come in since we finished the fulfillment in July and looked at what most of the requests were given the amount of parts that we had out there. And I kind of picked and chose out of those comments what occurred the most frequently. And one of the things people asked for was some different hats, that would fill out the looks on the Cowboys a bit more. So what I did is I picked 4 older ones and 2 brand new ones and put together a little set of hats here that you can get. And these are a little different from our previous Boot Heel Loot sets in that all of the accessories in these sets are fully painted. Before, we cut a couple of dollars off by having them only be one color or maybe 2 colors at the most on the weapons. But these are all fully painted just as they would be on an action figure that was complete that you buy from us. So you got the Kepi hat from the KP Trooper, and it's exactly the same as the one he's wearing in terms of color and paint pattern. The Hollywood Cowboy hat, which is also used on the Cowpuncher and the Man in Black, but here in very different colors. If you watch the Western in the 70s or 80s on TV, one of those comedy Westerns or whatever, 9 times out of 10, one of the good guys would be wearing that hat. The Sandringham, which is the first hat that's new in this set, is coming from the Mercantile Shop Owner, which we'll talk about in a minute. The palm leaf hat is called the palm leaf hat because it's also the one that comes on a Vaquero, which is a palm leaf straw hat that's been woven. So I just left the name as it was. But here you'll see it's in black, brass, and leather. The Cavalry Officer hat is the same hat that's going to be coming on our Cavalry Officer exclusive, except it's in black with a metallic gold braid, which was requested several times, and also a bit more authentic than the blue one he has for the guys that want something specific. And then the Miner's hat, which is the same hat that comes in the Prospector, but here in a sandy tan with a leather braid on it. So wanted to offer you guys the chance to get some parts that would give a little more flexibility in terms of the look or design of the character as you're creating your own customs. So that's what we've done here.
Okay, and then the next one was some guns and belts.
Yeah, one of the things that people said is they didn't have enough gun belts and holsters. And even though we salted several through the previous Boot Heel Loot sets, there was not, as I said, if you remember talking about the Gunfighter, there was not a left and right matched holster, plain holster you would see on any of the TV Westerns. So I picked 3 colors of brown that were all complementary leather, light, medium, and dark. We put together 3 gun belts. This is the same gun belt that is brand new on the Texas Ranger, so it has cartridges in the front and the back. And then 3 pairs of pistols, and each pair of pistols is different. We've got our Outlaw pistol, we've got our Hogleg pistol, and then our Peacemaker pistol. And all of these are different paint patterns in that they're all metallic nickel silver with yellowed ivory grips. So none of our guns at this point have had that. The only thing that was close was the Badlands Vigilante and gear set number 1, but the factory didn't get the gloss coat paint there, so they're not as shiny as they're supposed to be. So.
Real quick question: the accessory packs, will these be available to ship when you get the other figures as well? Or?
Yes. When the figures come, these will come with it. So you're going to get it all shipped at once. Speaking of shipping, if you go to the shopping cart and you'd already if you already placed a previous order, there are coupon codes. I sent out an email yesterday. You have to pick the right one, but if you apply that coupon code to any new order you make, it will the new order will be shipped with your previous order and consolidate your postage so that you're not being double charged for postage when we're going to put the orders together anyway. We haven't got all the bugs worked out of it yet. I was told that there was an issue this morning that we'll have to address tomorrow. But by and large, everything should be working properly with that. So there is something that we haven't talked much about yet. I'm going to try to do a 3rd accessory set. I've got to check the availability of it and see if we can fit it in our schedule to get all these things here at the same time. And it will be composed of bandanas and collar sets that have been highly requested. People have been asking for the string tie that was used on the Fire Brigadier because that's the only way you can get it right now.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I'm going to offer a white collar with a black string tie, and then a white collar with a brown string tie. So that'll put 2 of those in that set for you, and then we'll comprise the rest of it other few other similar parts, and put that up at the end of this coming week if it works out budgetarily. If not, that will be one of the first things that we do after all this is done. So
all right,
anyway,
and this will be the last thing. Do what?
I was going to say, anyway, about it, that will be one of those things you're going to be getting sooner rather than later.
Okay. And this will be the last thing we'll talk with you before you have to go. This figure
okay.
here, that is faceless.
Well, that's because it's mocked up with a head that's not going to be available for purchase. I had that done because I wanted to see what it was going to look like. This is modeled after one of my favorite Western characters that we're not going to discuss.
Okay.
But it's let me go ahead and talk about the name Ranahan. I'm sure people have had some questions. What was that? A Ranahan was kind of cowboy lingo, cowboy slang for the top ranch hand or the top cattle drive hand right under the boss. He would be the guy who would be delegated to handle certain tasks and things like that. So that's what Ranahan means. It's also shortened to Ranny. So there you have a little bit of knowledge to go with that.
And the story on him, is he going to be an exclusive or
no? He'll be in a group of figures this next year. Do you have pictures? Do you have pictures of the 2 actor likenesses that we're trying to get shoveled in here?
They're not underneath one of these albums, are they?
Go to the albums and look at. Actually, yeah, it's the middle one, top row. Yeah, there you go. Click on the black and white drawing first. Yeah, there you go.
Riverboat Gambler. I like
Riverboat Gambler. He's pimpy, isn't he?
That's what I'm talking about. And he comes with some cards in his hands.
Well, if we can get the sculpt to work out right, he's absolutely going to have a deck of cards with him.
That's good. I like that.
Well, obviously, you'll be seeing that accessory again later, too, by the way. We want everybody to be able to set up your dioramas and have some stuff like that that's real fun. So these guys are in the design phase right now, picking color palettes. One of our primary sculptors is just beginning to work on the sculpts for the new body parts and stuff. So you'll be seeing these after the first of the year, some samples and some 3D prints and things like that. So what we got here, the Riverboat Gambler, this likeness is an actor you may or may not be familiar with. I've seen him in several things and I like him a lot. His name's W.O. Brown. He is a good buddy of Keone Young, the other actor. We have not sat down with Mr. Brown yet and ironed out everything. So there is potential that this could go sideways, but I don't anticipate it. I'm meeting them later this month at a show in Kentucky, and I hope to be able to put everything down to bed and get to work on these. But what you're seeing here is a Riverboat Gambler. What I wanted to do in terms of the look is kind of create, let's say, a cowboy that's too old to cowboy anymore. So he's kind of moved on to gambling, which he thinks he's pretty good at. So he's got several new pieces. The vest, which will be our first big boy vest. It's kind of got a little bit of a pot belly and fuller figure. And we're doing that by sculpting the outside of the vest to be bigger, and the inside of the vest will have the fill material that will make the torso be bigger overall. We can't afford to sculpt an entire torso yet, but the vest is not going to be designed to be removable. So you're going to have a guy that's kind of a bigger build and stuff. So that is going to give a unique look. The upper arms are new. The lower legs are all new from previous figures that we're doing also. Cavalry figure we did. The accessories, you mentioned the cards. The cards, we figured out how to make it so that he can hold them in the hand and they'll still look good. He has an Arkansas toothpick, which is a variation on the Bowie knife that's more regional. So we wanted very much to look a little bit like a guy who is trying to be a bit more of a dude than he might actually be. So there you go. That's what you got. And I think that the actor's likeness fits the character very well, and I hope he's happy with it too when he gets the chance to go over it. And you can see there's the raw sculpt in digital format. I've actually got the 3D print, and it looks amazing.
I like that bald spot.
Well, in regards to the hair, if you see, he's got a little bit of a cowlick in the front.
Yeah.
And we've given him a little bit of a hat hair on the sides of the head, and I think that little flourishes like that in the sculpt add a lot of character that might not be necessarily evident. When we were doing our designs the first time around on these guys, I was all for having everybody have a little bit of an expression, because there is nothing more boring than a stone-faced action figure or a guy that's just trying to look like he's Billy Badass. So you do these little things like that, and it gives something a bit of built-in character. You don't necessarily have to have everybody smiling or grinning like an idiot, but having little things like that certainly adds a little flair to the figure without going too far, in my opinion. So. And a mercantile store owner. This is Keon Young, who is a fantastic guy I've gotten to know a little bit after the Joe Fest in Augusta this last year. Paul and his son Cooper, my business partner Paul, got into an extended conversation with him, and I followed up on it. And we talked to Mr. Young, and I proposed that we use his likeness to put on a figure, and we come to an agreement. So again, I'll be in Louisville later on this year, to nail that down. I've already had plenty of discussions. We know what compensation is going to be, so everything's great with this. I wanted to do something in terms of his design that was not low-hanging fruit. That's a nice way to say it. He is a mercantile shop owner, so he has got some money and is not a day laborer or anything like that. We took influence from Chinese clothing of the period in terms of the jacket design. He also made a special request by adding the axe, because it wasn't just a weapon. It was also a utilitarian tool that they used for everything at the time. And I was happy to comply with that. He has brand new arms and legs that are a little shorter, so it makes him, if you look on the left-hand side of the image, it makes him about half a head shorter than everybody else, and they'll get used again as we do other people up and down the scale. Also, if you look at the very bottom, I don't know if you can see it well on a smaller image, but there is a couple of candy jars he's going to come with, and one will have drops and the other will have licorice. So the way we designed the candy jars was so that the whole top of the jar comes off, and the candy in the base of the jar are the secondary sculpts. So we're going to be able to reuse that top part over and over again to do other mercantile pieces as we go along through the line. So you'll have little dio pieces for figures. So there you go.
Let's get over here.
Oh, and let me point out the dragon tampo that's on the back there. You will be seeing that again on another character.
Okay.
It was done specifically for them by Katrina from Boss Fight Studios. She did a really nice job of that, and I think it's going to look pretty killer.
And this is the 3D sculpt.
Yep, that is the 3D sculpt. That screen captures from the 3D sculpt of Keon's head. And if you go look at his likeness, his photographs from shows and things that he's done in the last 3 or 4 years, it is spot on, in my opinion.
Oh, it is. Just by looking at it. I mean, before you even told me who it was, I mean, that's him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's amazing.
I've had a lot of people ask, is this so-and-so from Deadwood? Is this blah, 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 other shows that these actors have done? And I'm like, well, not specifically. We do not have the money right now to license from those entities, HBO and the guy who wrote Deadwood and, produced it and all that kind of thing. But we are able to make a deal with the actors who might have portrayed some parts and do a figure that is complementary and fits in with our world that has their likeness. So this is not any of those named characters from any of those shows, and is not intended to be. So that should be all of them, isn't it?
Yep, that was it. So, John,
right.
I know you're stressed on some time. Give me a few extra minutes. Thanks for joining.
All right. Well, let me recap real quick.
Okay.
Go to Chicken Fried Toys right now. Go to the cart. Put in an order for a set of figures. Save $15. We need to hit 500 of each figure by the end of this month. Do your part to help us out if you support the line. We got 2,600 people and some odd on our page. We've only got about 190 orders total, or 190 different orders total. So we're sitting at 207 this morning. We need to get a little farther on that. So if you can support the line, you want to see the line go forward, spend a few bucks and help us out, man. We'd sure appreciate it.
All right, John. Well, I appreciate you stopping by, and you have a good evening.
Hey, man. Thanks for putting the show on tonight and not being too angry.
Not yet. Give me time. So go ahead and drop out.
Thank you. You guys have a good weekend.
All right, man.
Buddy. You guys all have a good weekend. It was a pleasure. All right. Bye-bye.
All right, man. All right. With that going on with John, let's see who else I was going to talk about. 2 weeks from now, we will have Bobby Vella on. But to just give people an update, Action Force is going pretty strong. They hit their first unlocked figure. He changed it at backer number 420. Go figure, 420. Anywho, right now they are sitting at 77,533 of a total of 99,000. As long as he hits the 99,000, he will unlock the 3 figures, which is Steel Brigade, Bone Collector, and as I like to call Connor, who's not really Connor, but I have renamed him Connor. That SOB's name is Connor. I don't care what no one else says. Even though it says Condor, it's Connor. That's all it's to. His name is Connor, period. That's how it is. So let's see. Anything else on there? You know, to go to Kickstarter, look up Action Force. So you can add the accessory packs on. There's an early bird Steel Brigade Commander helmet. If you do one of the first VIPs, I believe is what it was. I'm not for sure the price on that, but go check that out. Special Ops Trooper was unlocked again at 420. And so he's unlocked and able to add to what you want to get. So yeah, that's $20 extra. They'll unlock another figure at 1100, 111, 117. I'm looking forward to 138 and 159, to be honest with you. So hopefully y'all can get out there and make your pledges. Remember on Kickstarter that you are not charged until the project is or will be funded. If it is funded, then it will, your bank account will be missing some money. If it's not funded, then you got some money for the weekend. Let's see here. Did you see the Complex Dio Kit Part 2 from? I did not. No, I did not see that. But real quick, back to Bobby's again. I know in the previous podcast I did mention that, you know, I'm going to wait till the end to really pledge, just so the sheer fact that I don't forget to change my pledge in case he doesn't get the figures unlocked that I want. There's only really 2 I want right now. If it hits the main pledge, which is Steel Brigade and Bone Collector. I would really like the Swarm Trooper to be unlocked, but you know, time will tell. Again, like I said, it's up there. It's doing really well. 441 backers. 15 days ago. So when we have Bobby on in 2 weeks from tonight, we should be literally in the end game. And as I say that, I'm doing quotation marks in the air. So yeah, we'll be underneath the 24 hours almost. I think under 48 hours, 36 hours, somewhere around there. So yeah, definitely we will be there. Let's see here. As far as regular G.I. Joe news, we know there's not very much of that around. What was really cool we heard was that G.I. Joe franchise heading to Transformer Earth Wars mobile game. I do not do that, so I'm sure there are some guys who do play the online games on their phones, stuff of that nature, and enjoy it. Looking through here, I guess there's some more information over on the Hess Tank about the filming of Snake Eyes. Some more videos of people seeing it being filmed, stuff of that nature. So hopefully everyone is enjoying that. Hopefully that they don't F it all up like they did the first 2 movies. Let's see if there's anything else there. There's, you know, the regular Joe Comics. Hopefully, I'd like to actually ask somebody, hopefully one of these days, that I'm just curious if they're actually reading that new G.I. Joe comic. I know it's kind of hit or miss, to be honest with you. So I know I was not interested in it. I didn't hear nothing good about it. One guy literally ripped it in half and said that was a waste of money. So not for sure on that. Guess we'll have to wait to find out if it continues going or if it goes down the crapper. not a whole other lot of news that I'm seeing. The comics we talked about, stuff around the GI Joe community that I know about. So yeah, I think that's where we're at. So I'll probably go ahead and do some call and shots. Just wanted to name off a couple of things real quick. 2 weeks from today, we will have Bobby Vella on, which that date will be I know what it is, the 16th. So November 16th, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, we will have Bobby Vella on with Bobby Vella and the, I'm calling it Action Force Endgame. That's where we're going to be at. Hopefully by the time he comes on, he is like well beyond funded. So again, if you're interested or on the fence of it, just go on out there and fund exactly what you are wanting to fund it for. Oh, hold on, I'll get to that in a second. 46 zone. Yeah, it will be. Damn it. Bobby will be on. If you're interested in, if there's like 2 or 3 figures, if there's 4 figures you're interested in, pledge for those 4 figures. And if it doesn't look like it's going to hit the mark, then go ahead and you can always change your pledge. You can add, you can take off, but of course, Bobby wants you to add as much as possible. So be able to do that. Go ahead and pledge. Like I said, you don't get charged until after it is funded, if it is funded on the 17th is when I think it'll be done. Yeah. And then after the 16th, on the 30th of November will be the end of the year show for us. I usually do the shows all the way up through November, a certain date, and then we take the rest of the holiday off, December, New Year's, stuff of that nature, give me some time off, stuff like I like to do. So anyways, yeah, definitely tune in for that show. I'm hoping to get on 6 people. It's the most we're allowed to have on StreamYard. And just really kind of like a hangout, nothing specific. Hopefully get some of the previous guests on just to shoot the shit. Hopefully we can get Fred back on the show for once. We'll see how that plays out. He says he'll be here next week, which I figured he would be. But yes, hopefully that works out. A couple quick questions in the chat. Are you angry about what happened to Fresh Monkey Toys and the limbo status of the Eagle Force line? Eagle Force line, I have no money in that whatsoever. The Fresh Monkey, yes. I spent 25. A buddy of mine said something about it, and I was really pissed. I don't know if there's any more news on that. The last I heard was that they had gotten back the what they were missing, the stuff in order to make it, whatever the hell that crap's called. I was technically really thinking about doing an Angry Mike show tonight because I feel like I have enough to talk about for at least a good hour. Hammer figure, I mean, Chris, let's just be honest, man. Hammer figure, I'm so pissed off on that. I really am. That is something. Yeah, they got the tooling back was the last I heard. Now, if there's something else that's changed, I don't know. I know people who've dropped more money than my measly $25 are highly upset, that is the case when you go through a Kickstarter. That can possibly happen, I mean, it's sad, but it's true. So, we, yeah, so if y'all are, just keep the subscription on the YouTube channel and the bell notification. We might pull an episode out later on tonight. We'll see after I eat dinner. But yeah, that's for tonight. All for tonight. I do appreciate everyone who's been in, who's commented on the chat and everything of that nature. Thank you for everyone who does watch on a every 2-week basis. Don't forget, there is the Angry Mike show, which is really kind of in hiatus, and then there is Galactic Gumbo I do on a weekly basis. That we do just to talk about nerd talk in general, different things. Hopefully you can turn into some of those episodes as well with me and Dakota, mainly. The other crew kind of abandoned me pretty much, but we won't go on that one. But anywho, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Next two shows are scheduled. We are ready to go on the 16th with Bobby Vela and the end of the year episode on the 30th of November. Thank you for tuning in tonight. I appreciate it. And always remember, you can find me everywhere as Angry Mike or The Angry Mike. And you all have a great evening.